For me to stand here in front of you today, I had to travel on my own journey. I have to say my journey was a rather challenging and a difficult one. At certain times in my journey, I had experienced so many shattered dreams, at times even risking of losing my life. But to start with, I'd like to share certain aspects of my early childhood memory with you. I was born into utter poverty in Mao's Communist China. I was born into that impossible, cruel period of the Chinese history. We had no running water when I grew up. We have to walk miles carrying buckets of water home each day, little, almost no heating. The temperature in my hometown could drop down to between 18 to 20 degrees below zero at winter time. But the worst memory of them all was the starvation I had tasted and experienced along the way. When food finally arrived in front of us, after my mother's desperate attempt, we only need to take one look, just what is available in front of us. We knew just by look at there was never going to be enough for us to eat that night. As during these kind of harsh moments in our lives, my parents would say to their 7 children, they are not hungry, you go ahead eat. So we could have an extra mouthful to fill our stomachs that night. That morning we were sitting in this heatless, freezingly cold classroom which made out of simple mud coming shack. You could feel the whirling wind outside chilling deeply into your bones. In the middle of that reading, 4 men were suddenly led into our classroom. They were introduced to us as Madam Mao's cultural advisors from the Beijing Dance Academy, and they were there to select talents to study ballet. Ballet? What ballet? There's no such thing in our lives thing. These 4 men walk along the aisles and look at each person's faces and try to get some vague idea of our physical body shape through our snowball-like clothes. They pass me by without taking any notice. Out of the 40-odd kids in the room that day, they pick out one girl. But just as when about to leading her out of the door, my class teacher hesitated and suddenly tapped on the shoulder of the very last gentleman, virtually as when he's about to walk out the door. She said to him, "Excuse me, sir, what about that one?" And of course, that one was me. Then I was led into the head of the school's office. There were 10 of us selected all across the school between the age of 8 to 12. I was 10, then just turning 11. One person shouted out, says, "Take all your clothes off except your underwear." But nobody moved. Everybody just absolutely stood there frozen in motion. The reason nobody moved was because we were so poor those days, nobody could afford to wear a pair of underwear. And that's how desperate we were. But that very morning, for the first time, I was stealing one of my elder brother's underwear, worn for the first time. Suddenly, I was pushed against the corner of the wall. One person held one knee straight. The second person pushed both my shoulders hard against the corner of the walls. I could not move a single inch. And the third person forced the other leg up and up and up, high up in the air. As he forced my legs higher and higher and higher, he kept asking me, "Does it hurt?" You could well imagine. It was excruciating. During the audition process, they had torn both my hamstrings. Stubbornly, as they tore my hamstrings away, I just kept smiling, shook my head, said no. I realized then, if I'd scream out with the pain that moment, which I desperately want to do, that one possibly only opportunity in my life would have taken away from me, may never have such a chance return. That year, Madam Mao's people searched and searched. We were told they went through tens of millions of kids, and they ended up selecting only 44. So just turned 11, I was among one of the lucky 44 being chosen to leave my beloved mother, father, 6 brothers behind, to travel 24 hours on the train to go to Beijing to study ballet. You could imagine, without knowing ballet, just how difficult that was. We're only allowed to see our families once a year. and I was away for 7 long years. What made my life there even more miserable was the fact I hated ballet with passion. Ballet made absolutely no sense whatsoever to my daily life. We had a harsh training regime. We started from 5:30 in the morning all the way until 9 o'clock at night. 6 days a week we trained. You could imagine with that kind of long day, harsh training, that you were not passionate about something. As we all know, how important truly passion is in life. Without passion, I don't think we can truly reach our utmost new heights, utmost success in life. For me, I desperately needed that inspiration, motivation. Eventually came at the end of my second year. My new ballet teacher, Teacher Xiao, he was a different kind of teacher. He was the positive kind. He was the inspirational, motivational kind. He took extra steps, went extra length of his journey trying to discover what does tick for each of his students. Through his one person's inspiration, motivation, eventually deep inspired me and indeed discovered my own passion for dance. Only then I was willing to work extra hard and walk that extra mile. Through determination, perseverance, persistence, courage, and passion, eventually from one of the worst students at the Beijing Dance Academy, I graduated at the very top of my class at the end of the 7th year. Thank you. In 1979, I broke a school record upon graduation. All these years later, I was told that record I broke then was still standing today, unbroken. That journey, that success didn't happen by accident, as you all know it. It requires those ingredients: dedication, passion, focus, strong focus, and hard work to make it. I'm sure for you to make it here today, you had to rely on these key qualities in life to get you where you are. For me, another lucky chance happened. Upon graduation, America sent their very first cultural delegation to China under Nixon. In that group, there's a famous Western choreographer, teacher, and the artistic director of the Houston Ballet, Ben Stevenson. He taught 2 master classes in my academy, discovered me along with another student, offered us scholarships to study in America, in Houston. After 1979, there never have been any cultural exchange students ever being allowed out of China, let alone going to America. So we were going to be the first 2. The day before we left China, we were called into the Chinese government, lectured by this cultural official. She said to us, remember, you're representing over 1 billion people in China. What do you say? What do you do? Will have direct implications for people back home. If people ask questions, we don't think you understand them, but you never say the word no. No is a negative word. You offend people with that. You should always smile, nod your head, say yes, regardless what they say. So we thought that was a fabulous advice. We truly took that to heart. But there's another major hurdle. At age 18, both my friend and I didn't speak a single word of English at age 18. But somewhere they found this English tutor, came in, gave us 2 days worth of crash English course. 2 days. You could well imagine just how much we learned these 2 days. That first night we were taken to this fabulous Chinese restaurant in Houston, probably the best Chinese food I ever had. Truly. No, truly. The first time I ever tasted Peking duck. That night, food just poured on, dish after dish. Of course, we gobbled. Everything came our way. After the first few dishes, we were absolutely stuffed. Couldn't eat anymore. Still, dish after dish poured on. Halfway through the night, we thought, something's going wrong here. Of course, only at the end of the night, when this full table full of food was virtually going to be wasted. A lot of dishes was even untouched. Only then we discovered what went wrong. Of course, throughout the course night, our host kept asking the same question over and over. And that question was, are you still hungry? Of course, we kept smiling, nod our head and said, yes, yes. Everything was upside down for us. Everything was a cultural shock.